Good afternoon and welcome to the WNY News Now studios. This is a special report brought to you exclusively by WNY News Now. Reese McBride, Odesson McBride is his legal name, better known in these streets as Reese, has been turned over to the feds for prosecution of drug trafficking. Captain Robert Samuelson joins us of the Jamestown Police Department. Captain Samuelson is coming back from Buffalo. Captain, good afternoon. What do we know?
And as far as the charges exactly, I do not know if those were B, but he's going to be charged federally with drug trafficking. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. Is there any way, if you could say that was the plan once you found the amount of cocaine you found? It's generally.
No, I don't want to release that because that's not going to be helpful to our investigation.
Okay.
That's possible with any drug investigation that we do. So I don't want to say that's specifically the case in this case. I don't even want to go there.
Sure. Is there more investigation to come in a case like this, Captain?
Yes, there's definitely more investigation to come, and I'm not going to get into the specifics because that's through the Drug Enforcement Agency and the federal prosecutors to handle. But yes, there's more investigation to come.
All right, Captain. Thank you very much. All right, just to reset, we have learned that 38-year-old Odesson McBride, who you see there on the screen, has been turned over to the federal government for prosecution of drug trafficking. McBride, a business owner, was arrested at his Sampson Street home last week. Shortly after 5:30 a.m., federal agents, along with Jamestown Police, the Metro Drug Task Force, also arrested his wife, Ashley, and charged her with trafficking, although she was released today from Jamestown City Court and turned over to the care of supervised release. Now, a 4-year-old child also in the home at the time of the raid. We hear that child is in the very capable hands of a family member. Now, for context on the difference between federal and state drug charges, we turn to our friend Frank Latempio III, president and partner of Latempio PC Law Group in Buffalo. Mr. Latempio, thanks for joining us. What are the biggest differences between state and federal drug charges?
Federal cases are they're very, very well put together by either the DEA, the FBI, or whoever's investigating it. That's one. Two, more serious because of the federal sentencing guidelines. Although the case that came back down 5 years ago that they don't have to follow sentencing guidelines, there's still a habit to follow the guidelines.
Now, Frank, are drugs the only reason a local police department decides to take a case federally?
Could be if there's guns involved, could be if they think that it's going across state lines. It could be it's a major operation where they think that this guy is getting stuff from, let's say, out of the country, and he can provide them with help on a big source that a local government can't investigate. Then you get the federal government involved and they can investigate, and maybe they can get some cooperation out of this guy, go after a much bigger source.
Now, the one thing about this guy, and I know you don't know anything about the case, but this guy owns 2 businesses. Now, Odesson McBride owns 2 businesses and is involved with renovating properties around the county. Should he be concerned at this point, Frank, about money laundering charges?
It's possible, but the drugs are going to be the much bigger component to this. The drugs and if there's any guns or anything like that. I wouldn't, if I was him, I wouldn't be concerned about the money laundering. I'd be concerned about the drugs, I can tell you that.
And how expensive, Frank, is it to fight a federal drug case?
Oh, yeah. Taking on the federal cases is much more, it's much costlier than a state case.
Wow. Frank Latempio III, president and partner of Latempio PC Law Group in Buffalo, taking time out of his very busy schedule to join us. To reset, at the top of the show, we reminded you that Odesson McBride has been turned over to federal custody to face drug trafficking charges. We learned this on a routine phone call to the Jamestown City Courthouse to follow up on a case we had reported on the Morning News Now show. We did a stand-up in front of the courthouse, and we learned from Jamestown Police Chief Harry Snellings and secondhand information from a city court clerk that Odesson McBride, also better known as Reese, the owner of Ring It Wireless and a barbershop on Forest Avenue, Cutting Edge, was turned over to federal custody. We heard rumblings during the week that may be the case, but after the 5.47 ounces of cocaine they found on McBride's property along Sampson Street, they decided to take the case federally. Of course, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, was in on the raid last week, and subsequent raids at the barbershop at Ring of Wireless, at a car, and at several other places of interest for police investigating McBride turned up heavy evidence that McBride would be a candidate to turn things over to the feds. So he is in the feds. McBride, for background, did about 5.5 years in state prison for various charges, and back at the time in 2004, 2005, was involved in a highly public drug case here in the city of Jamestown, one that the Jamestown Police Department is still proud of based on the prosecution and execution of various search warrants. So that's the latest. Odesson McBride has been turned over to the feds. His wife, Ashley, by the way, released to the care of supervised release, and hopefully she is doing as well as she can, and we pray for the child, that 4-year-old child caught in that raid. Our prayers go out to the family and friends. For Justin Gould, my executive producer, I'm Ryan Hedrick. This has been an exclusive presentation of WNY News Now and WNYNewsNow.com. Have a good afternoon.